Hi, I'm Carrie, and I'm so glad that you asked me to talk about the Community Foundation because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. But before I jump into what the Community Foundation does and what it means to me and what it means to the community, I want to just share a little bit about my personal background. So I was the first in my family to go to college, which was a pretty big deal for me and for the family. It 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 took a lot of kind of creative thinking and tenacity to figure out how to get to and through college, so that was a big deal. And it's really central to who I am when I think about the lessons I've learned in my life. My family has been in this area, Southwest Michigan, for a really long time, 5 generations on my mom's side and 2 generations on my dad's side. So this community is deeply rooted in my heart, and I care and love it with all that I do. And one important part of that story is how my grandfather came to this community. So my father's father, his name was Howard. When he was 8 years old, his mother died in childbirth. He had one older sibling, a brother, and 2 younger siblings. And when his mother passed away, his dad didn't have the ability to care for the family farm and also take care of the children. And so social services and the Catholic Church stepped in to offer him help. And while they were looking for adoption opportunities, his older brother was placed with a family in Kalamazoo. The last name is Pickett. And that first summer, the younger siblings were placed already with another family. And Howard went to go visit his older brother with the Picketts. And when he came to visit, what he realized was that this family had truly opened their heart to this young boy, my great uncle. And the community that supported this family was there at a time when the family was really stretching themselves to make welcome this new young man. So neighbors stopped by. There was a real sense of community welcoming. And my grandpa was struck by that. And he worked really, really hard while he was visiting to make himself useful and do his very best to perhaps convince this family that they might have room for 2 boys instead of just one. And at the end of the summer, that's exactly what the Pickett family did. They welcomed both boys into their family. And my grandfather continued to serve the family, support the family until his adoptive mother passed away well into her 90s. He continued to serve the community and serve the families well into his 90s as well. And what I learned from him and his story was the importance of hard work and how critical moments of welcoming and support from your family, your friends, and your neighbors can mean all the difference in your life trajectory. So that story sticks with me. It's a really powerful part of who I think I am and who I identify with as a member of my family, extended family. And so you might be asking, what does this have to do with the Community Foundation? Well, I want to share with you a really powerful story from my experience with the Community Foundation. I was working with the grants team and we were reviewing a grant from the Boys and Girls Club. And this is an organization that's well established in the community and is based in actually one of the neighborhoods where my grandfather grew up. And they have strong operations, really great leadership, excellent staff. But what they discovered was that the children being served did not include the children who lived closest to the club. And they were perplexed about why that was. They wanted a grant to support outreach into the closest blocks, the neighborhood around the club, so that they could connect with parents and families, so that they could connect with other agencies that might be serving those children and just raise awareness about the value of the club's programs and services. And working with the grants team, it was difficult because that was a time when we had a lot of requests and not a lot of resources. $1 could be granted for every $4 requested. And so it was a tough decision, but we did decide to make that award to the Boys and Girls Club. And that resonated with me because I was so concerned about young people who might be falling through the cracks, who might not be on the radar of programs and services that could be really helpful to them. So fast forward a year or two, and we're having a conversation about the impact of grants, and there's a final report from the Boys and Girls Club. And what they discovered was that there were significant language barriers for the families closest to the club. And in their outreach, they were able to remove those barriers by adding materials and flyers and information in that second language. And as a result of the grant that we were able to award, they doubled the participation of the kids closest to the club in their program going forward. And I just think, what a great example of how a community foundation does what it does so well, connecting people who care deeply about community with resources that can remove barriers so that life can be better for all, especially those kids who were falling through the cracks. And it wasn't a big grant, and it was an established organization, but they were missing a lot of kids who really needed their support. And so that's why I am such a fan of community foundations. That's why I love to volunteer and participate in the great work that they do, because it so completely connects with my core values of caring for one another, helping people establish their own strengths, and really changing the trajectory of their life for good. So I just really appreciate the chance to be able to tell this story. And if you want to hear more about what community foundations do or how you can get involved, I'd be happy to connect you. So thanks for asking.